Do you have nice guy syndrome? That's a very important question that every man should ask themselves at some point when it comes to dating and relationships. That's why I'm really honored that I had the chance to sit down with Dr. Robert Glover. He's the author of the book No More Mr. Nice Guy, and he sold over 1 million copies of that book. And it shows you what a big problem and pain point that can be for many men. So before we jump into the interview, a quick look into what I call the nice guy cocktail. So that's certain attributes that we're gonna go through to check, do you have nice guy syndrome and what can we do about it? So let's jump into that. So the nice guy cocktail. You have an empathetic disposition, which is not a bad thing. People should be empathetic, but the question is, do you put other people's needs before yours? Are you so empathetic that you always first serve others before you serve yourself? Do you have that desire to help others constantly, even if you feel bad? And do you then, when you have needs, are you afraid of confrontation? Are you afraid of putting your needs out there, voicing them? And then in the long term, do you maybe feel ashamed to ask for what you want, and then in the long term create resentment towards others for not giving you what you want? Do you have guilt about your sexual desires? Do you have certain fantasies, but there's a dissonance? You're not owning your sexuality. You feel ashamed sometimes to have a dick and balls and wanting to put that into a female. Is that a triggering thought to you to even speak like that and think like that? And do you resent men who can ask for what they want? Do you play them down? Do you instantly label them as assholes and chads and idiots and the bad guys? Almost like some or most men have Madonna whore complex, where there's like the angel girls, the Madonnas, the cute ones, the innocent ones, and then it's the bad ones, the whores, the bitches, the OnlyFans girls, the strippers, the porn stars. Do you have the same with men? Do you see yourself as the angel guy who only wants nice things, and every man who is bold, who is abrasive, who is a little bit aggressive, but who is able to voice what he needs, he's the asshole, he's the bad boy that she should not hang out with? And do you resent women for not rewarding your niceness? Those are just a few things. So if any of this triggers you or is relevant for you, then this interview is going to be really important for you. So without further ado, here's the interview with Dr. Robert Glover. I want to start with a story from a month ago because it definitely fits into our conversation. I was coaching a guy. So as you're aware, I help men, improve their dating life. And he is a guy from the UK, nice guy, calibrated, good job, no red flags, like a totally normal dude. And he came to me struggling with expressing himself and kind of like being direct. He was sharing that on dates, he doesn't really know how to escalate and how to be direct. So I was like, okay, let's go out on the street and give women genuine compliments. Right? Okay. Like not even asking for the number, just literally just give nice vibes. And he was really struggling. Like every time I told him, okay, that one, and I even fed him the lines. Like he didn't even have to make them up himself. I was like, just say exactly that. And then he would arrive in front of her. He's like, excuse me. And he would always make up something about, I like your bag. Oh, your shoes look great. Oh, I really love that coat. So it was always something that's not her, right? Like an object or your outfit. So kind of my first question is, why is it so difficult for us men to be direct?
Because we don't want to get rejected and we don't want to look foolish. We don't want to say anything wrong, get anything wrong. One of the things I've been saying for quite some time now, it's really not even so much about dating. Is it pretty much now? It was this way as I was growing up, and I'm going on 69 years old, and it's even more this way now, especially with social media. The kind of golden rule of masculinity is don't piss off the woman. So that means if you're approaching a woman, well, don't piss her off. If you're at work, don't piss any women off at work. They're going to tell HR you made them uncomfortable. If you're in a relationship, don't piss off your woman. Happy wife, happy life. So, and especially with the nice guys that I work with, it's been my bread and butter, and that's me, recovering nice guy. Most of us were just brought up with, you have to constantly get a woman's approval because if a woman is disapproving of you, you're toast. Probably goes back to mommy issues. If mommy wasn't happy, if mommy was disapproving of us, we're dead. Who's going to take care of us? Who's going to meet our needs if mommy's not doing it for us? So I think what's happened is that I think it's a pretty natural thing that
Mm-hmm.
little boys grow up trying to please the female figures in their life, mommy, nanny, babysitter, elementary school teacher. I often say that just to get from second to third grade, you not only have to learn your reading, writing, and arithmetic, but how to please a woman, because most
Mm-hmm.
of us had female teachers. In some ways, I don't think that that's really the problem.
What do you
I
think
think
is the
what
problem?
I think was problematic. I think probably throughout human history, little boys grew up with their mothers for the first few years of their life and, pleased mommy because you had to, right? What's happened is that, for probably the first 1.5 million years of human existence, there was masculine initiation where
Mm.
the men of the tribe came and when the boy's 8, 10, 12 years old, takes them away from the women, takes them out, puts them through something life-threatening,
Yeah.
like in 300, the movie where the boy's in the cave with the spear and a wild animal, or tying him down to an anthill, or doing a Sundance with these,
Like one day where
oh,
he
to
turned from a boy into a man, like a very clear
exactly.
transition.
And it might be one day, it might be a vision quest that takes a
Yeah.
little bit longer, but there was a process of the boy learning to face his fear of death, which is the ultimate fear, get comfortable feeling uncomfortable and realize I can be scared, I can be uncomfortable, I can be overwhelmed, and I can still take powerful, masterful action. And being taught this by masterful men,
Mm-hmm.
hunters, warriors, men that had been taught this by their fathers and grandfathers. Now, that was about 1.5 million years of masculine initiation. Go back about 10,000 years where we've lived under what's called the patriarchy, when we quit hunting and gathering and being tribal, and it's more of an ownership model. Powerful men owned land, women, the vaginas of their women, the children of their women, their
Mm-hmm.
cows, went overseas and owned other peoples and other lands. So it's all about ownership. But even during this period, most boys, as soon as they could get up and help dad, they were out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
They were helping dad with the farm, moving rocks, milking cows, feeding chickens, hunting. And it's only been probably since about World War II that most young men have become almost totally disconnected from a powerful father figure whom they felt safe with, who would take them, dad or other men, take the boy out in some way and initiate him into manhood, whatever that looks like. There's no right way to do it. It's been done many different ways throughout human history. So the problem is not that we grew up learning to please mommy and other women at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
We never had the men take us out away from that. Robert Bly talks about it beautifully in the book Iron John, of how the women, oh no, don't take my little boy. And then after the men take him away, they all go, oh, how'd I do? Was I convincing? That it was the women and men participated in the initiation of the boy. And then once the boy was initiated, he didn't hang around with the
Mm-hmm.
women and the girls and the old ladies. He hung around with the men. He was now a warrior. He was now a hunter. He was now this. And now the feminine came to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had what the feminine wanted. Nowadays, most men are going to the feminine because they've got what we want, right? They got
Yeah.
boobs. We want to see them naked. We want to have sex. We want their approval. And instead of us just walking the planet in a powerful, fierce, strong, self-connected, kind of way, we're chasing the women trying to get their approval. The truth is, if once a man's been initiated, he doesn't have to chase anything. It comes to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that. He has a confidence in that. So what I see happens with so many men, going back to your question, this guy, probably his number one agenda with women is find a way to get their approval and keep their approval. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that has nothing to do with getting a good girlfriend, has nothing to do with getting laid, but it's what most men have been doing since they were infants. How do I get the woman's approval and keep the approval? So I better not do anything that will risk losing whatever approval I might have or I want to gain with the woman. So you're telling the guy, hey, just be bold and be direct. And
Hmm.
and he's thinking, oh, that might piss her off. That might be the
Right.
wrong thing. And the main thing is, well, she won't approve of me. And
Hmm.
so that's such a big piece that we men have to get over, not if we just even want to date. And, I found that out when I learned to date in my 40s and 50s. To just have the kind of life we want, we have to get over this thing of chasing and seeking women's approval or the approval of the feminine. We want it coming to us, we're the decider,
Yeah.
not the feminine.
It's upside down anyway, because at the end of the
Upside
day,
down.
she doesn't actually want the guy who seeks her approval, right? She wants the guy who doesn't care.
Who doesn't care? And if if we can get that across to every man, whether he's in relationship, 'cause I'm a marriage and family therapist by training. That's what my doctorate said. So I've
Hmm.
done that for many years. And it wasn't until, like I said, I was in my 50s that I learned to date and started teaching men how to date because my clients said, Robert, teach us. What are you doing? I got good at it. I got good at getting women, getting girlfriends, getting laid, and the guys want to know what I was doing. And you're right.
I'm
You
the
can't
opposite.
care.
I'm always say I'm a seduction coach, not a relationship coach, because I spent a lot of time figuring that first part out, like how to
Yeah.
attract women into my life. Um, and
And
still
then
young,
what I
not married
figured
yet.
out, yeah, I did it backwards. Believe me, I got married 2 days after I graduated from college, So I could have been a seduction coach, but it would have been nice guy seduction. How to get a woman's approval, how to listen to her problems, how to fix things for her, how to solve, how to just, get her, don't rock the boat, hide your sexual agenda. The whole nice guy seduction was my style.
Yeah.
Well, and then you might get a woman, but usually she's kind of broken but I can fix her up.
The topic of initiation is a really interesting one. I've been thinking about it a lot because, as you said, for millions of years, it's been a way, right?
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
live in such an insane time now, and it just gets more and more ridiculous. Like today at the dinner table, me and the boys were talking about AI and basically future sex robots,
Oh yeah, it's
and
coming. It's coming. Leave it to
and
Mark
like
Zuckerberg. He's been working on that for a
yeah,
long
and
time. It's
basically
not just
like
glasses. It's gonna be on just the glasses.
because like my friend's girlfriend was kind of like joking about flirting with AI because she was explaining about, cleaning the house, and then the AI was really understanding how she really wants to take care of her home. And as a joke, she was kind of like, "Oh, AI, we should have a coffee. Like we're getting along really well." And it's a joke now when you just type, but we're not far away from, having AI robots walking in our house, serving us food, and then maybe we start flirting with them. Like we start creating intimate relationships with them. And then what I'm saying here is like it becomes so blurry, like sexuality in our time. Like when do we, in the time we live in today, turn from a boy into a man? Because we don't have to hunt anymore. We don't get buried in a hole. Or I know there's one ritual where they have to wear those gloves with the 24-hour ants. You know that one?
Yeah, yeah.
Like crazy,
I mean,
painful stuff, climb a tree and so on,
anything
right?
that hurts. Yeah, I remember when I was
Yeah.
a little kid, I watched a National Geographic show on TV where prior to bungee jumping, the little boys would go up and they tie a vine around one ankle and jump out of a tree in the
Yeah,
jungle, right?
insane.
And
So
saying,
now everything is so
it didn't
cozy.
stretch, it hurt.
Everything is so cozy these days. It's gonna get easier. We have iPads,
Yeah.
we have AI, we're gonna have robots serving us. What's the future of initiations? How do we have to?
That's such a good question because I think we have to be asking that question to get there, right?
Yeah,
Because
like, it won't
um
just come naturally, right? We have to
it won't
work on it.
because where I say most men I work with nowadays, especially the younger the guy, but even guys my age,
Hmm.
I say that they're hanging out in the nursery, i.e., everything gets pushed to them. I don't know how old you are, but my son's 39. He's a
32 now.
millennial. Okay, so you're right on that edge of millennial versus Generation Z.
Hmm.
Generation Z, they grew up when they're 3 days old, their parents put a smartphone in their hands to entertain them, right?
Yeah.
And my granddaughter just turned 18, and when she was 12, She could hack my iPhone and go in and pull up videos of Nickelodeon. How'd you do that? Oh, I watched you put the code in. You know, because she grew up with a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing with men: we've grown up with everything being pushed to us. It's easy. Well, the younger men have.
Yeah.
So, you know, your porn gets pushed to you, your Netflix gets pushed to you, your social media gets pushed to you, you know, your news gets pushed to you, your entertainment, everything is pushed. There's no challenge. There's nothing you have to work for. Now, one result is I see men of your age, you guys are the most informed, smartest fucking people that I know, right? Because you guys grew up with just information being
Mm-hmm.
streamed at you all the time.
Yeah.
Now,
That's another
information,
interesting thing. Sorry to interrupt.
right?
Another discussion we had here. My generation, we still had to hack stuff, right? I
Yeah, you
remember
did. You
I
did.
couldn't afford the video games. I had to download it. We couldn't buy the DVDs, so we hacked it on
Yeah.
torrent. We had to, crack our PlayStation so we could play certain games and cheat codes. I think the generation after me, now they really get fed everything. Like
Yeah. You
being
guys are
credit
going,
card
those
connected.
guys don't have to work for anything, you know. So, you know,
Uh,
and again, my
it
sons,
just gets worse. Yeah.
when we got broadband internet, when my son and stepson were probably about 14, 14, 15, you know, they spent all their time downloading porn and stealing music on Napster. You know, we had to go back to dial-up just to slow them down because, but as you say, that was in the old days where you had to work for it, right?
Yeah.
So, but now, even with guys my age, we just get accustomed, these smartphones. What have these been around? 15 years at the most? I
Yeah.
mean, not much more than that. And like we're addicted to them. I have to make a rule to myself. I don't take my phone to the bathroom. You know, I just go to the bathroom and just be in the bathroom without
Yeah.
having to have something in front of me being pushed to me. So here's the thing, the way I look at it. And by the way, add that to all just the information being pushed. And information's great, it's good. But the other thing I see is that because you get addicted to information,
Hmm.
a lot of times guys don't take action because action is scary, right? Information's easy. Oh, I'll go watch another YouTube video on how to talk to women, or I'll go, do
I
another
know it.
one of this. I'll
I
go
see the
watch more
stats,
of
how many
this.
people watch, how many people really take
Yeah.
action. Yeah.
But how many of them are actually doing it? Because and I tell people all the time, you probably have enough information to take life-changing action right
Yeah.
now. You don't need more information,
No.
right? So people watching this video are going, "Oh, cool! I'm going to get more information."
Yeah.
Well,
You
fuck it.
actually, whoever watches this should
Just
quit
go
right now and go outside.
turn it off. Turn it off. Go do
Bye.
something. Go get out of your house and go out, walk up and talk to somebody. So where I think part of the masculine initiation can come from. And I started a men's membership program partly
That's
to
great.
give men initiation. But here's the thing. I think actually kind of bring this back to, like approach of women. I think if we can go about interacting with the feminine, let's say women in general, but the feminine, I think money, adventure, opportunity,
Hmm.
challenge is all feminine. But let's say if we can consciously and boldly start interacting with the feminine in this conscious way that I'm going to set the tone and lead. I'm going to be the decider. I'm going to invite her into my great, amazing life. I'm going to go the direction I go and she can hang out with me or not. I'm gonna open her in ways she's never been opened as a gift to
Yeah.
her. If we men can consciously learn to be that strong, that bold, that powerful with something that scares us. I mean, when I talk to women like on an airplane, they say, "Well, what do you do?" Well, I'm a relationship guy. And if I tell them I teach men how to date or talk to
Hmm.
women, the women will go, "Well, how come I can be sending the guy all kinds of signals? I'm looking at him,
Start
I'm
asking you question,
smiling
question,
at
question.
him. Oh, they do. And I'm looking at him, I smile, I'm kind of
Hmm.
flirty." And she goes, "How come they won't walk over and talk to me?" And I
Hmm.
go, "Because you scare us." And they go, "Well, why?" And I go, "Because you're scary." And the women will go, "Well, how come, we're talking, things are going well. I touch his arm, I laugh at his jokes, I lean in, I smile, I twirl my hair, and we get done talking. He won't ask for my number, he won't ask for my Instagram, and he just like shakes my hand and says, 'Nice to meet you. Maybe we'll bump into each
Hmm.
other sometime.'" And they go, "Why do men do that?" And I go, "Because you scare us." And they go,
Yeah.
"Why?" Because
And
you're scary.
society scares us. I remember coaching a guy. He was from the West, like US. I don't know the town exactly. And I was coaching him in New York, and we went to the metro, and obviously there's insane people in the New
Now,
York.
the metro, well, the metro is actually Washington, D.C. You were,
How do you
but
say subway? The
yeah, I think it's called Subway in New York. I could be wrong
subway.
about
Let's call it
that. Yeah,
subway.
yeah,
And there were these advertising like banners on the subway.
yeah.
And I don't know, there's people promoting, I don't know, lawyer firms, people promoting shave kits, and then there was like anti-harassment advertising.
Oh, yeah,
And a lot of it, like half of the subway like cart was full of it. And it's
yeah,
like, of course there's insane people in the subway, right? There's bad people there, especially at night. It's a crazy place. New York City is full of wackos. But I just got me thinking, like, how many people are watching these advertising,
oh,
and
yeah,
how many actually need that advice? Like, how many are there, like, nice guys who maybe want to get out of it a bit, who have a certain degree of sexual shame? A lot of my clients also, their parents told them, you don't touch anybody. Touching somebody's
yeah,
bad,
yeah.
right?
Don't let anybody touch you. Blah blah blah.
Anybody.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
one client, he once touched a girl when he was 4 in the sand pit, and his mom beat him up after that.
Oh,
And then he stayed a virgin until he was like 33 because of this.
yeah. That's probably a
Um,
smart decision.
I don't know, horrible like traumas. And then they see this advertising, right? Like, don't
Yeah,
touch
don't
anyone.
be
It's
that guy. Don't be
don't be
that
that
guy.
guy. And it's like, so when you say women are scary, yeah, and then society makes it extra scary because now if we do make that move, if we are bold, if we say what we mean, well, are we harassing women? Like, where's the line? And it's
Yeah.
super tricky.
And that's where I think this can be such a beautiful part of masculine initiation is that there are lines, right? But nobody teaches us that. We just say, don't do
Hmm.
it, don't touch, don't,
Right.
kind of going back, don't do anything that makes anybody uncomfortable. Because that's kind of what's taught, at least in American school systems now.
Yeah.
If anybody's uncomfortable, well, somebody must have done something wrong. But, one of the things I've said for years, I think I say this in No More Mr. Nice Guy. A woman's reaction to a thing a man does not determine the rightness or the wrongness of the thing the man did.
Mm.
Right. I've had my wife, who loves me dearly, get upset about things. And I go, hon, I didn't actually even do that. Yeah, you did. And so she's mad at me. Well, have I done something wrong? No. Is she mad because something's in her head that
Who
made her
knows?
mad? Yeah. So, but I think this can be part of the masculine initiation. So I was being interviewed by a dating coach. Oh, this was a few months back. And he was like maybe just 19, 20 years old.
Mm.
And
What does
he
he know?
works, yeah, well, he's talking to young men. But he
Okay.
asked me, he said, what would you tell like an 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old
Hmm.
who, wants to express his interest in a woman, wants to be bold, you know, somebody has to take the lead. Somebody has to be the doer and the done too. Otherwise, you just have two bodies and nothing happens, right? Two people and no interaction. Somebody's got to be assertive in the
Yeah.
interaction, right?
I mean, what I teach is like, even before going for the kiss, I have like a list of mini advancements, kind of like
Escalations, yeah.
escalation, like a ladder. And it's kind of like, because escalation is also a conversation, right? Maybe you just stand next to her at the traffic light and you lean in a bit so your arm is brushing on hers. And then you
Yeah.
observe, does she move away or she stands there? And just basically, I'm saying, is this okay? And she's saying, that's okay. And then I'm like,
Yeah, she'll
okay,
let you know.
at
Yeah,
least
she'll
she's
let
not
you know.
completely figured out. And then you do that a little more. You point something out, like, hey, that's a beautiful ring. Can I see? Like, and you
Yeah.
basically ask for permission, but she gives you the hand, you hold it, you touch it a bit. And if you get like 5, 6, 7 of those, the chance she will actually want to kiss you is way higher than going from 0 to like,
Yeah.
let's make out.
You're describing what, let's call this masculine initiation.
Mm,
Because if a boy hasn't been initiated into manhood, he's going to do one of two things. He's
mhm,
either going to do nothing when it comes to interacting with a woman, probably won't even talk to her, won't approach
mhm,
her at all.
mhm.
Or if he does anything, it'll be really passive. Like I said, nice guy seduction, trying to get her approval,
Yeah.
listen to her talk, solve a problem. Or he'll just be super clumsy and abrasive.
Mhm.
He'll just he won't have tested any at all to say, is this woman interested in having an interaction with me? Because I teach the same thing. I call it testing for interest. Yeah, you do a lot of little things and you keep observing what is her perceived interest in having an ongoing interaction with me. And you have to get progressively bolder because if you don't, you never actually do find out how
Hmm.
high her interest is in having an interaction. So teaching men how to do this in a very conscious way is masculine initiation. And if we can get to where women don't frighten us, where we can be bold with them, I call it, acting on impulse and blurting. So many guys, they want to turn that into a technique. I'm not a big fan of techniques. I'm a
Mm,
fan of just don't hold back,
yeah.
but do that in a conscious way. Like you say, lean into them a little bit. See how they responded to them. Take their hand somewhere. Say, stand up, turn around. Let me look at, something where I call it the 3 T's, where you touch them, but in
Hmm.
ways that are non-sexually threatening at first.
Hmm.
Tell them what to do, like come over here or stand up or hey,
Exactly.
or order me a drink. Tell them to do something and then
They love
tease
it
them.
anyway.
Well, many do. Not
Yeah.
everyone's going to, but that's what you want to find out. I call it getting to rejection quickly. Find out quickly. Not like you're trying to speed this thing up, but
Hmm.
don't hold back. Don't be
Yeah.
passive. Don't walk away and go, "Oh, I wished I'd done that to find out, I wish I'd gotten her number just so I'd even." So we got to be bold enough to where our action is so bold and clear that their reaction to it is equally clear. Right?
Right.
We
That's a
don't
great
want
way
to
of
walk
saying it.
away with any sense of vagueness of, did I read it right? I'll give you an example.
Completely. Yeah.
I was talking to
You
a
give me
woman.
one, I'll give you one.
Okay, here's an example. I was talking to a woman, and I was in a Starbucks in a coffee shop. This
Hmm.
this years ago, back when I was single. And I tested for interest with people everywhere I went, just interacting with them. I just worked at being a social animal and then walked through open doors. So I'm in a Starbucks and a woman a little bit younger than me sits down, pretty attractive woman, sits in the chair next to me, kind of looks my way, and we're just sitting in nice, easy chairs. And I needed to go to the restroom. So I took my laptop, sat it down on my chair, kind of left the top of it open.
Hmm.
I said, do you mind keeping an eye on my computer? I have to go use the restroom. I said, but don't read my emails. Just kind of being playful, right?
Yeah, a little
And
cheeky.
just see what her response was. I came back and she said, I didn't read them all, but and so she went with it, right? She played
That's
around with
good.
the joke a little
Yeah.
bit. So, we chat, I'm working, she's working, I kind of interacted with a little bit. And so, what are you working on? And she goes, oh, I'm about to finish up my studies for a graduate program. Oh, really? What are you studying? And she goes, marriage and family therapy. I go, no kidding. I didn't tell her right away. I have a PhD in marriage and family therapy. I kind of, oh, well, tell me more. What's that about? What do you study? And then when she kind of, said a few things, and then I asked her a few questions
Yeah.
that it showed I knew what her field was talking about. So then I don't know if it was time for her to go, time for me to go. I said, we need to connect. We need to hook up. Give me your number. Give me your email. I'll reach out. Let's get together. She goes, I'd really like that. Okay. So she gives me her contact information, leaves. I get to thinking, that wasn't clear enough because
Hmm.
she's thinking, oh, because by then she knew I was already an established marriage and family therapist in practice. And she's thinking, oh, this is a good contact. This is good
Right.
networking.
Could be
Right.
business, right? Could
I
be a
did
business
I
contact.
I didn't know. See, because I
Hmm.
wasn't quite clear enough when I
Mm.
said, give me your contact information. I'll get in touch with you. So I decided I'm going to be so clear that her response is equally clear. So like a day or so later, I said, hey, Friday, Saturday night, I don't remember. It was just like a day or so after. I said, I'm going to this, music event, down in because I knew what part of town she lived in, Seattle. I
Hmm.
said, I knew it wasn't super far from her. I said, I'm gonna go at this music event, come join me. More of this is a date.
Yeah.
And she wrote back, she said, I thank you for the invitation, but I'll be celebrating my boyfriend's birthday that night. Okay.
Interesting.
I gave a clear enough, this is a date, not just a
Yeah.
networking, get
And
together,
Angie brought up the boyfriend.
that then she could be clear with me.
Yeah.
I have a boyfriend, and that's what I needed to find out. It's what I wanted to find out.
I love that.
So I had to get to clarity.
I have that so many times in my workshops. And it goes exactly back to that situation with the example of that guy, right? Guys would approach a girl and they would say something like, oh, really love your bag. Just wanted to tell you that. And then they get in a conversation. And if that's how it starts, not direct at all, right? He's complimenting some piece of clothing. They talk. I'm listening. I'm kind of like coaching. I'm taking notes, but I feel where this is going. He talks. And then in the end, he might ask, hey, we should hang out again. And then she's like, sorry, my boyfriend wouldn't like that. And then he comes back and he's like, what's wrong? And I'm always like, well, what was your first line? And he's thinking like, oh yeah, I was complimenting it back. I'm like, yeah, you weren't direct, right? So not that you wasted 20 minutes just now, but if you went in with, this might sound
rejection
spontaneous,
quickly. Find out quickly.
Bomb, like I'm a man and I recognize you as a woman and I want you, basically. She can be like,
I want to see you naked. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, like with your eyes.
They know. I tell guys all the time, women know why we're talking to them. Of
course.
They know we don't walk up and talk to them just because we think they're going to be interesting conversationalists.
We always say a beautiful
woman
knows she's beautiful since she's 15. Like
since she's trained.
5.
Yes.
Yeah. She's trained. Like she has a sixth sense for what's going on in a room, right? So I love how you basically underlining, like I'm saying the same thing. I'm like, there must be some initiation in a man, and it must be scary. Approaching women is scary.
It is.
Obviously, I love also how you mentioned the techniques, right? Everybody read the game at some point, or most men.
I read the game. I read the game. Probably about a year after it came out, I read it. So that's how long ago.
And everybody has like a troubling kind of like relationship with that book, because on the one hand,
even Neil Strauss has a troubling relationship with it. He wants to disown it pretty much now.
I know. In a podcast, he said it's a story of male insecurity. That's what that book is about.
Yeah.
He himself said that. It's like, on the one hand, it got a lot of guys into action. So that's why I like the book. A lot of guys read it and was like, whoa, I can do something about this. This is cool. I thought I'm just a loser. So it got me started. I started putting feathers in my hair. I started wearing like free watches. I always had a deck of cards with me to show card tricks.
I call that geeks with techniques.
Yeah,
you don't really know how, you don't know
me.
how to have a conversation with a woman. You don't know how to get her into bed. But man, you got all the techniques.
100%. That was me. I was,
and the women are going. Tricks. When the man walks up, hey, I got a question. Who lies more, men or women? And it's just, I've been asked that 3 times already tonight. They've heard all the lines.
You like horses?
They've seen all that.
It got me started, and I felt, okay, this is okay, but this is not for me. And then
it's a starting point. It's a
starting point, and then I developed myself into what I do now, is just being direct, being grounded, being masculine, being integrated. And I say this is a great initiation. Even if you don't meet your girl in the coffee shop, right? Maybe you do meet her in your social circle, like most people do. She still wants the kind of guy who could approach her in a coffee shop.
I tell you what, I told you before we started, my wife and I just celebrated our 8th wedding anniversary. And people ask me, well, how'd you guys meet? I mean, she's Mexican, I'm American. I was down here in Puerto Vallarta. I was walking down the street, just walking to a Starbucks with my backpack. And I heard a voice said, hola, senor, want a massage? And, people do that all the time here. It's a tourist town, people want to get you in their store,
Sure.
Hey, honeymooners, hey, amigo, come on. And I said, no way, tal vez mañana. And I kept walking. I thought, I liked her voice. And I turned around, walked back, and got a massage. And now we've been married 8 years. So to me, the moral of the story is, you never know. You never know when a door's going to open, right? I was walking to a Starbucks in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, to go do some work, and a door opened, and I walked through it. And the thing is, I didn't have to pound on a closed door. I didn't have to try to get a locked door to open. I just said yes and walked through a door that opened. And if we can initiate men, I had a friend down here. He passed away a few years ago. He was an older gay guy. And he used to say, it's a sin to say no when you should have said yes. And I've been using that mantra for a long time now. And it's just, the house I live in, it found me and I said yes to it. Any art I have in there, same way. My wife found me. My pit bull Nala found me. Everything good in my life found me. And I said yes. What happens with so many men is they think, I got to go pound on this closed door because it's hot, it's sexy, it's what I want. And that closed door doesn't even know we exist. But I tell you what, if we just get out and be bold and connect.
Leave the
I want
house.
like the mantra I end every one of my dating essentials for men podcast is get out of the house, expand your route, linger in public, talk to the people you meet, test for interest, walk through open doors.
That's all it
And
takes.
I say miracles happen around people. And
Yeah.
unless you got a living room full of people, you ain't gonna have any miracles. I also my mantra is I love waking up in the morning not knowing how my day's going to end. I didn't know I was going to meet my wife, my future wife. She jokes about it all the time. You know, said, "Hola, senor, want a massage?" She'll twist that all these. Hola, senor, do you want a blowjob? Hola, senor, want to marry me? Hola, senor, want to pay for my kids to go to a private school? Hola, senor, want to buy me some Lululemon? So she just turns it around all kinds of because that's her. But you don't know that when an Ola Senor is going to turn into the most fucking amazing woman that you've ever gotten to know. And so, but you got to get out of the house and you got to be ready to say yes.
Yeah. Which is,
I,
again, crazy this time. We live in a time where we can order Uber Eats, we can work from home. How do we get guys out
so
of the house, Robert?
I think we actually have to say that's part of the masculine initiation is that you don't have any miracles hanging out at home.
Mhm.
Maybe, but probably not many. The internet can
They
open
would have
up a
happened by
few.
now.
Yeah, what happened? But you get out and you get around people. That's the wild card. You just never know what's going to happen. I got to tell another story, not about me, but this is such a great story.
Hmm.
I did an interview with a guy about 2 months ago, and we started the interview out. He's a young guy, probably I think 24, and I said, where do you live? And he goes, Austin, Texas. Now, Austin, Texas is kind of the hotbed of just Tim Ferriss is there, Chris
Everybody
Williamson's
moving there.
there,
What is it
Joe
about
Rogan.
Austin, Texas?
Oh, well, everybody I know in Southern California during COVID moved from
Yeah.
California to Texas. Mainly, they have no income tax or really low taxes.
Uh,
It's a very red conservative state, so there's nobody having mandates that you got to get vaccinations, wear a mask.
mm,
But Austin, they say, is an island of blue and a sea of red. It's a very liberal
mm,
town. It's got the university there. It's just always been a liberal town in a very, very conservative state. So you
mhm.
get all the benefits of like low taxes, no government, on your back. Like Chris Williamson left
Right.
England to go there, and I've done
Sounds
his
like a
show a
cool
couple of
place.
times. And so I said I'm going to be in Austin when I was talking to this guy in like 2 weeks, and I said, "Do you want to do a peyote ceremony?" And he
Hmm.
goes, "I might." And I go, "Cool, I'll send you the details," because I was going to be there to do some interviews, get this tattoo that I got started while I was there.
Sick.
Um, yeah, it's a so Raven. It's kind of hard to see when I hold it upside down, but if I hold it this way, you can't see it on the camera.
That's
I
badass.
already
I just
had,
got two cute birds. You got a big raven. I just got
yeah.
two
Well,
lovely birds.
I'm gonna get a hummingbird on the inside. The
Yeah.
Raven is my dad. The hummingbird is gonna be my mother. So yeah, we got the bird. So I already had this appointment because I'd
What
met
was
this
your first
guy.
tattoo?
Oh man. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get personal now, but I want to finish the story too.
Okay.
All right. My first tattoo, my second wife and I, on our second anniversary, went to get matching tattoos. And so, yeah, this is so nice guy. This is before I began any nice guy recovery. It's a rose on my ass, a rosebud. She got hers on the front of the thigh. We went to this like biker tattoo. This guy was Harley Davidson guy, had he had a baseball bat in there. He said to keep the gays away. He was rough. He was rough. I thought, wait, put the bat down. You're tattooing my ass. And so anyway, and I had my wife's nickname. I called her Silk. I had that tattooed across the stem of the rose. They
Hmm.
always say that's bad luck to put somebody's name.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know, 12 years later, we're separated, and I'm out. A little bit later, I'm heading out into the dating world, and I got a rose tattoo on my ass with the word silk across it.
Can turn
I
it into
thought,
something.
I thought I can turn it into something or start calling every woman I meet Silk before I ever get naked with her, right? Oh, okay, babe. And so I got a snake curled around the
Yeah.
stem covering up. So that, I made my nice guy mistakes on the earlier ones. And the next one was crucifix.
Hmm.
Next one was Day of the Dead. It says
Oh, I like that one.
Musica es vida. The next
Uh,
one, my wife, I think we've been married a year or two. One
yeah.
day she goes, "Let's go." I go, "Where are we going?" She goes, "We got an appointment." I said, for what? She goes, tattoo. I go, okay, that's my wife. So
Hmm.
we go, and mine says El Rey, got a crown there, and hers says La Reina, which is
Hmm.
king and queen in Spanish.
Beautiful.
Um, so I think that's all. Yeah, that's all the
Nice.
tattoo. So this one, it'll get a little bit more added to it. We didn't get the flowers done, but we'll add a hummingbird from my mother. Okay, this guy, I said, do you want to do a peyote ceremony? Because some buddies of mine put it together. I said, yeah, I'm in. And I knew they were trying to find a few more guys to do it. He goes, I might. So I sent him the information. He comes and does this peyote ceremony with this Comanche. He said he wasn't a shaman, but kept calling him a shaman because I get
Yeah.
goofy when I do plant medicine stuff. So anyway, so I'm talking to the guy comes and does it, the guy that did the interview with me. And I'm talking, he works in the tech industry, and he said he'd quit drinking a couple years ago. I said, did you have a problem with it? We're both on peyote while we're just chit-chatting. And he goes, no, but I didn't want to use it as a social crutch. So I quit drinking. And I just wanted to be able to be out, be social without alcohol.
Hmm.
And then we're talking some more, and I don't know how it got to, like girlfriends. And he mentioned having a girlfriend. And I said, how'd you meet her? And he said, I just saw her and I just walked up to her and told her she was beautiful. I go, that's amazing. And so, we kept talking. And somehow he said she's into pageants, beauty pageants. I said,
Hmm.
oh, like, when she's a little girl and mommy's dressing her up and mommy's, getting off on, her little girl being beauty. And she goes, no, she didn't start till like she was 17, just to like get scholarships for college money. But said like, her younger sister now is doing it. And then somehow he said something about Miss Texas. I said, "Oh, she was in the Miss Texas competition." He goes, she's Miss Texas." I said, "Your girlfriend is the current reigning Miss Texas?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Tell me again how you met her." He goes, "I just walked up to her and told her she was beautiful." I go,
Hmm.
"That's just the fucking best story. You're my hero now." The guy just walked up to, I doubt he knew.
It's
I don't think
amazing.
I asked. I doubt he knew she was a beauty queen or Miss Texas.
Yeah.
And I promise you, in Texas, they take that shit seriously, right? Beauty pageants is serious, like football is serious
Serious
business
business.
in Texas. And she's Miss Texas, and he just walked up to a
That's
woman and
incredible.
told her
It
she's
shows,
beautiful.
it also shows you how few guys are doing it,
Yeah,
right? It doesn't happen every day to her. That must have been a special moment that a
a
guy
beautiful,
says it
yeah.
directly. Guys ask for directions, guys that make up some bullshit, and as soon as a guy opens his mouth and is not direct, she knows, I know what he wants. And now, why do we start this fake conversation when I know you just want to
Yeah.
fuck me? And this guy's like, hey, you're beautiful, I want to fuck you. She's like, that's better.
She knows she knew why he was talking to her. They know that. So as you say, since they already know it, why do we pretend
Yeah.
that's not oh, we're talking to them just because, I want to have a nice conversation. She seems like guys will say, well, what do you do when you see a girl that you like? And I go, what do you mean you like her? Oh, you see her across the room and you think she's
They
cute.
can't
I go,
even
okay.
say it.
Yeah, I go, that's not the same thing as liking her. You got to know somebody to like them.
Yeah.
Well, she looks interesting. I said, just come out
Jesus.
and say it. She's hot. You can't tell if somebody looks interesting. I said, if she was 60 and fat, would you still say she looks interesting? No. Okay, let's just be honest. You think she's hot. You want to see her boobs. Okay.
Exactly.
She knows that already. You don't have to walk up and say, hey, baby, you're hot. I want to see your boobs, because she already knows it. Just don't walk up and pretend like you're talking to her for some other reason than she's hot and you want to see her boobs. Just own it. Be real. Admit it to yourself. Because so many men I work with, and this included me for a lot of my life, would not even admit that to ourselves. So
Hmm.
that's why we're talking to them, because that would make us a bad man. That'd make us those men that just want one thing from women. And we know women are offended by that. At least I thought. No, like the women keep asking me, how come the guy won't just walk up and talk to me? How come he won't just get my number? They want us to be bold and take the action. They
Yep.
don't want to hold up a billboard that says, get my number, dumb shit. They want to feel like we're the bold man that not only could penetrate the cosmos, but penetrate them in a mindful, conscious way. That's what turns them on.
It's beautiful. I want to transition into relationships because that Miss Texas just reminded me of a story I wanted to share as well. After my years of development and figuring out ladies and attracting them into my life, I ended up with a beautiful, beautiful girlfriend. like a model as well. I always felt a little bit of pressure because of her beauty
Oh
to
yeah.
perform as a
Oh
man
yeah.
to a certain degree. So I remember that one moment. We went on a little holiday, checking into a hotel. I already did a reservation, of course. And then the guy from the hotel asks me, hey, we got this little bit nicer room. It's only this much more. Do you want to upgrade your room? And I look at her and she doesn't care at all. Like she's not like pushing me to do anything. And in my mind, I'm like, no, I got this beautiful girlfriend. I have to be the man, right? So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Later, like a week later, we're having an argument, some bullshit, and I bring it up. I'm like, no, I even got you the nicer
How
room.
did you say it? I even got you the nicer room.
Something like that. And you talk about this a lot, right? Covert contracts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's shocking to me. Like I'm very self-aware. I have abundance in women. I have a lot of beautiful women around me, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, this is part of our initiation. Well, I actually think this might even be wired into us evolutionarily that Mother Nature really, yeah, I often say Mother Nature wants a lot of penises and a lot of vaginas. Mother Nature loves genetic diversity,
Yeah.
right? And so that's really how our ancestors lived, is, put a lot of penises and a lot of vaginas. And of course, there's a certain evolutionary predisposition that, men want to put their sperm into a female that will have the healthiest babies. And women, want sperm put in them by a man that can take care of those babies. I mean, it just goes way back.
Sure.
But there's a book called The Value of Others by Orion Taraban.
I'm gonna talk to him in 5 days, actually.
All right,
I was on
he's
his channel,
interviewed
yeah.
me. I've interviewed
Yeah.
him.
Great.
He's a good guy. Good guy.
Yeah.
And basically, I gave him shit when I interviewed him. I said, listen. I said, do you overcomplicate things? And he goes, maybe a little bit. And I said, all right, in your book, I'm reading all this stuff about economic theory and exchange theory. I mean, I said, I understand it. I get where you're coming from. And it's all this. And then you have this thing about a boat on the dock. And,
Oh yeah,
this
that part goes on forever.
goes on. And then finally I said, Orion, you get to the part where you go, basically, evolution wired us. Men are attracted to Barbie and women are attracted to Ken. Men are attracted to the attractive young female. Women are attracted to the man that can give them good life experiences. And I go, that took 3 chapters and all of that to just get to that point. So, I think that's wired into us. So I think if you add then cultural things to it, men's ego, men's
She's Russian as
insecurity.
well, by the way. So extra
Okay.
pressure.
And that's even a social thing. If she's Eastern European, Ukrainian, Russian, they must be, whatever. Whatever that might mean. But I think the thing is, I think maybe the Buddha said it as well as anybody, that attachment to outcome is the cause of all suffering.
Yeah.
And so what happens is the more attractive a woman is, but they've even studies have been made that we as humans are attracted and value and even like attractive people better than unattractive people.
Naturally,
So
right? Again,
I think it's wired
healthy.
into it. So the more attractive this woman is, the healthier baby she can give us, that's pure evolution. The more she boosts my ego, i.e., my guy friends will be envious that I have this hot woman. And we also think the better she's going to be in bed, which is an illusion. I think we just get a lot of attachment there. And once we get attached, we suffer. And that's an emotional attachment that I want this hot woman to keep liking me. My second wife was gorgeous. That was the word everybody used to, that's your wife? Kind of like, where do you get her? Are you rich? You got a big dick? I mean, she's gorgeous. That's the word everybody used. And I go, yeah, that's my wife. And I tell you what, I put up with every, when people said, well, you have a PhD in marriage and family therapy. How come you've been divorced? I go, no, the real question is, why did I stay so long? Because I put up with every degree of horseshit you could put up with because she was gorgeous. Right. So I've been there. I've been done. So I got no judgment of men that do it. I think you almost have to do it a time or two to land the really hot one.
You get so sick of it. It's like eating so much you throw up from it.
And I tell men, here's the mistake all of us men make. and maybe this goes back to answer your question. We confuse three things, and this is a big mistake. We confuse a dopamine rush to our brain, i.e., I like that, right? Whatever that is, we like. It might be a Ferrari, it might be just, a nice ass. So there's dopamine hit to the brain. We confuse that with she'll be a good girlfriend and she'll be hot in bed. We assume that dopamine hit to the brain equals good girlfriend, hot in bed. Even if we skip good girlfriend, we assume it must mean hot in bed. My experience is confusing dopamine rush to the brain with quality of girlfriend material and how good they are in bed. There's a diverse, indirect correlation, not a direct correlation. But that's the confusion we guys make. We just keep thinking she's hot. I'm turned on by her. I can't quit looking at her. I can't quit fantasizing about her. I can't quit thinking about her naked. I got to get her because and I would say why? And kind of like, when all the websites, if you go out and look at for, basically getting young men to put their credit card in and spend money on how to turn every hot young woman into instant, puddles of taking their clothes off. And
Instagram is full of it. Now I have to block all this shit on my Instagram now because it keeps coming up.
Oh, that's why I don't do it.
Crazy.
So,
Yeah.
but I've not seen one single website that actually says, why is it a good idea to get the young hot woman? They just assume we all just know it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But why? Because evolution said, get
Drive.
her.
You feel it.
Yeah, go for it. And so,
DNA.
but then we try to turn her into a girlfriend, which is maybe the next mistake. And then we just assume she's going to be really good in bed. But the truth is, probably we never find out because we're so anxious and we're working so hard to try to please her. We don't even give her maybe a chance to be good in bed. So we confuse all this stuff. So the truth is, yeah, you get a good, really attractive girlfriend, you probably are going to lose some of your center, some of your groundedness, some of your rationality, and you just probably have to do it a time or two, and then you realize, okay, those things aren't correlated. In fact, they may be directly inversely correlated.
It's like a lot of things. There's a lot of growth in it early, and then you're kind of like, it's the same bullshit. Like, I used to play a lot of online poker. I'm very analytical. I was playing 16 tables at the same time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, when I was like 18. That's how I made my first money.
It's like Rain Man.
Yeah, it's like tick, tick, tick. You play like 1,000 hands per hour. And then, with poker, you learn a lot in the first year. You learn risk management, bankroll management, you're handling your emotions when you lose, not getting tilted. But after 2 or 3 years, it's just playing more poker.
Yeah.
So maybe it's similar there. You learn a lot dating a hot woman for sure, but
we'll throw in there probably every guy should date a borderline or two as well. just to have had
just
that
don't marry her.
experience. Just don't marry her and don't get her knocked up. Just do your best and and if you break up with her, just hopefully she doesn't get vindictive on social media with you.
So from your experience then, you're an older gentleman. There's a lot of talk. I don't know if you watch all this bullshit. I don't watch too much of it, but there's a lot of talk about what makes a good woman these days. And the hardcore podcaster, they're like, she needs to have a leg count of maximum 1, and she needs to not even have an Instagram, and she can never even wear a bikini. She always needs to be like super hardcore. They're acting like it's easy to find that kind of woman, or they deserve that, or high value woman, high value man, like the whole terminology, right?
I love that. Yeah, we're talking red pill. We'll just put it that way. Red pill. And guys are saying, I'm high value. I'll go to the gym and work out, and I'll whatever high value means.
He talks into a podcast mic all week. Like, what are you really doing? And then I look at the women these guys are actually dating. Like, I don't want to hate, but like it doesn't match what they're describing on their podcast often. So what makes a good woman for you, with all your experience, like married 3 times?
What's a high value woman? What's an
actual high value woman?
What's an actual high value?
That actually is good partner that makes you happy. That you wake up and you're like excited to look over and see her.
There you go. That's a high value woman. How about just this? She blesses your life as you bless her life, and that means, she's got a life of her own. She's hopefully kind of smart. Hopefully kind of funny, has a sense of humor. She can laugh at herself. My wife will often ask when she's being kind of silly with the dog, oh, who's crazier, the dog or your woman? And today, just before we got on the call, she was trimming my eyebrows and she goes, you got a really crazy eyebrow right there. And I go, who's crazier? She goes, probably your woman. So she's humorous. She's funny.
Yeah.
She's sensual. Um, she loves sex. Um, I mean, she's got as much trauma as any other woman, from her
Mm-hmm.
past, but it didn't make her quit liking sex or quit liking men. So she doesn't have, this big bug up her ass about men are this, men are that, even though she has good right to. Um, she's a hard worker. She's very feminine. She loves to look beautiful. She says she leaves the house every day looking beautiful for me.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, I don't care if anybody else pays attention to me. I want you to be proud of me. She's a gym rat. She brought her ideal day would have 2 hours in the gym every day. She's been doing that since she was 15. Um, and in spite of all this, if I'd put on paper, is she my ideal match? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
She grew up in poverty in Guadalajara, Mexico, and 8 out of 10 kids. I grew up kind of white bread community in Seattle, Washington, the suburbs with Boeing engineer families. She dropped out of high school at 15 to work. I got a PhD at 29. We didn't speak the same language. When I met her, she had 2 young kids. She was a working mother, a massage therapist. Her 2 kids are the same age as my granddaughter, so she's quite a bit younger than me.
Hmm.
And everything on paper looks like, Robert, what are you thinking? I'm sure plenty of people out. Robert, what are you thinking? And she's just amazing. She's an amazing human being. Have we had our struggles? Yeah, we have. Does she have the Latina jealousy and insecurity and thinks every woman that walks by wants to be with me and I want to be with her? Yeah, we've had to deal with that one. Um, but we can deal with it. And she's committed to her own personal growth. Put that high on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Is she committed to her own personal evolution, development, and personal growth? And is she excited about your personal development and growth?
Mm-hmm.
When I told my wife that I was going to get to do that peyote ceremony when I went to Austin, Texas, I just went, hey, I'm in Spanish. I get to do this peyote ceremony, and she just said, verdad, que chido. Really? How cool. She was excited that her man was going to go have this growth experience. So
Mm-hmm.
we joke that her and I have a contest to see who can outlove the other, outgift
Wow.
the other. And I always tell her, you're going to win because you have a bigger heart than I do. You're more loving than I am. So you're always going to win. So can you guys talk to each other? Can you be playful with each other? Can you love on each other? Can you bring out the best in each other? Are you excited about each person's personal development rather than this stuff like the red pill? What's their body count? How many people they've been with? How many women will they let me sleep with at the same time? And, that because I'm a high value guy, they'll
Mm-hmm.
recognize they can't do any better than me. And so they'll
Mm-hmm.
tolerate all the bullshit.
Calculating. It's a bad
uh,
frame. Just a
it's a
bad frame.
bad, it's a bad frame. Really, how do you feel with the person? Do you enjoy them? Do you look
Yeah.
forward to seeing them? Again, do they bring out the best in you? Do you have fun? Are they, I've tried dating a couple of women that weren't quite as intelligent
Mm-hmm.
as I'd like. That didn't work well for me. I thought, well, I can get intelligence from my guy friends, but
Didn't. No.
nah, that experiment didn't work so well.
Mm-hmm.
If they're dumbish or boring, they talk a lot. They watch Kardashians and say OMG a lot. No,
We don't
you don't
have
want to
that in
go there.
Europe, thanks God.
Oh. I don't know if they still do in America, but I think they might.
Um, I just had this thought. It's not really connected to what we talked about, but I think it was this because yeah, it was this comedian, I think Chris Rock, who was saying like a man is only as loyal as his options.
I just saw that somewhere else just a day or two ago as well.
Okay, what do you think about that?
I think there's truth to it. That's why a comedian said it, and we laugh at. We're not wired for monogamy. Women
Mm-hmm.
aren't either. Women aren't either. I think there's a certain advantage for women to ensure a monogamous relationship, but statistically, they still go out and cheat even while in
Mm-hmm.
monogamous relationships. Um, Going back to the mother nature thing of lots of penises and lots of vaginas, I say that monogamy is evolutionary sin. again, Mother Nature, monogamy doesn't serve Mother Nature. It does probably serve, since we're not living in a tribe anymore and the tribe isn't raising the kids and looking out for the well-being of everybody.
Right. Good point.
Monogamy maybe works best if you're going to have kids and at least get the kids through their most vulnerable years, maybe first 3, 4, 5 years. My wife and I have opened up her side of the relationship. I'm not interested in having sex with him. At 68, 69 years old, my sex drive's been going like that since I was about 40. I had prostate surgery 2 years ago that just killed the rest of the sex drive that was still there. And I told her prior to that, though, I told her, listen, you love sex and you love sex with not just men. So, I can't give you shouldn't have to dampen your sexuality to just be with me, to match my
That takes real
sexuality.
love, right? Like actual companionship too.
And what do they call it? Compersion, your ability to feel joy for, your partner's joy. And, the truth was, we had this conversation after she and I had both done plant medicine down in Costa Rica. And she just basically opened up and told me about her entire life sexually, that we'd already been married at that time 5 years, and she hadn't told me. In fact, she'd maybe told me the opposite of some things. And I just said, listen, you've always been sexual. You've always liked sex, but you always felt a lot of shame and guilt. I guess that'd be shilt about sex. And I said, how about you and I work together and we just make a goal? Let's just open up whatever ways we need to open up, and let's support each other, clearing out all guilt and shame around sex. And it's been kind of an interesting on and off kind of journey over the last 3 years since we started. But wrapped into that is total honesty and transparency. She lets me know everything. She sends me pictures and videos, and it's so far worked well for us. Now, would it work for everybody? I don't know. People ask me, well, Robert, are you going to open up? I go, I don't really want to have sex with anybody else. I love sex with my wife. And, it's already hard enough to have that ganas, that desire to have as much sex as she'd like. So if I'm going to have sex, I want it to be with the woman that I love fucking. So I'm really okay. I don't need the variety or novelty. I mean, she brings.
Did you when you were younger, when you still had a sex drive, did you struggle?
I was never that I need a lot of novelty or variety. I was more of, the serial monogamist. I'd kind of go from one person to the next. Now, I have cheated in the past, years past, but the cheating wasn't really about the sex. It was about some woman approved of me and liked
Power.
me. And it felt like approval. She approved of me and she wanted to have sex with me. Who am I to say no to some woman who approves of me and wants to have sex with me? So it really wasn't about, I just had to go, cheat for the sex part. Now, there are other men out there that have really strong sex drives. And we're all wired differently. And there's some men that I tell them, you should never, ever enter into a monogamous relationship. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to the woman. Is that you should always be clear. You are not monogamous. And because why would you do that to yourself when you just know as soon as you do it, the next pretty thing that walks by, you're going to be wanting that. And I mean, that's kind of normal anyway, but the guy with the really high sex drive is going to go get that as well. And then just keep messing stuff up. So just don't even pretend that when you meet women that you're monogamous.
Goes back to nice guy, right? Like be direct.
Nice guy, be direct. And you know what?
It is. Risk losing her.
Come to find out, a lot of women out there are really okay with that. Yeah. And a lot of women out there are really okay with them not being monogamous as well. Surprise, surprise. But if you don't be direct, you don't find out.
Sometimes guys kind of recognize they're nice guys and they become bitter towards women.
Oh, yeah, that happens.
What have you noticed in your work and in your experience, the other extreme guys go? So they're like extreme nice guys, and then they try to overcompensate. What manifestations have you noticed? How can people maybe watching this realize, damn, I've gone too far the other way?
You mean into the bitterness and resentment?
Into the bitterness, what manifestations of the other, whatever the other side is, have you noticed?
And again, I'll mention Red Pill again. There's a lot of actually good stuff out in Red Pill. I've spoken at Red Pill conferences. I know Red Pill guys. Most of them are married. come believe it or not. But the one thing about the red pill that I don't like is it weaponizes information against women. There's a bitterness to it, right? I'm going to fuck them over before they can fuck me over. And I don't like that. And I also don't like the hierarchy between men the red pill creates of, oh, they're blue pill, they're average frustrated chump, they're Captain Save-A-Ho, they're whatever. I don't like men going, I'm above that because I sit in my mother's basement and I write on red pill forums. You know, so I don't like that energy. But there is a lot of I think men get drawn to the bitterness of it, and I don't blame them, because one thing, when people read No More Mr. Nice Guy and they ask me about covert contracts, that's where you're unconsciously giving to get. I'll do this, and in return, people will appreciate me, or I'll be liked or loved, or get a girlfriend, or she'll want to get naked. If I hide my sexual agenda from her, then she'll want to get naked with me. Oh, how come that didn't work? So when I was writing No More Mr. Nice Guy, it took about 6-7 years to write it. And I didn't set out to write a book. I was just writing chapters to give to guys that were in my No More Mr. Nice Guy groups. And I was learning along the way. And it's funny, I kept getting feedback from people that said, Robert, this is good stuff. There's good information here. But I kept hearing the same thing. Robert, you seem to have resentment towards women. Robert, you seem to have rage towards women. And I'm thinking, doesn't everybody? I thought, all the women I know don't like women. All the women tell me, I don't trust women. Women are this. Women will stab you in the back. Women will steal your boyfriend. Women will do that. So, I don't trust women. I'm thinking, what? Am I the only one that, has resentment or rage at the way I've been treated by women? And so I had to look at that. And I actually went to work on it. Not only did I clean the book up, go through looking for it in the book, I thought, you know what? I don't want to walk through life with resentment and rage generalized at women because of either some bad experiences I've had from some unhealthy women, or the bad experiences I've had because I had covert contracts. I was giving to get. I was expecting something in return. And I tell people that's how you know you have covert contracts. You feel resentful and maybe even rageful. And so I went to work on really just noticing whenever my rage and resentment came up at feminine entitlement, feminine bitchiness, feminine, anything I felt like done to or resentful. I just went to work on that and started just being the noticer and seeing if I could let go of the judgment of it, because often I projected on people I didn't even know.
Right. So
I would
do you
just
mean
generalize
literally
it.
when you're about to say something like snarky?
No,
Like,
more I think it. Usually
think
just
it?
thinking it. Yeah.
Yeah. You would
You know,
notice it and then kind of like have that other voice in your mind, like, hey, Robert, what are you doing? Kind of like this.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I'll give you an example. When I was single, I got an apartment in a downtown area called Bellevue, Washington. Very affluent area. Bill Gates lives there. Jeff Bezos did live there until he moved to Florida. A lot of Microsoft millionaires, billionaires, a lot of money, a lot of money. It was my hometown. It's where I grew up, but I moved back there when I was in my 50s. And I had this apartment that my balcony overlooked a beauty salon right down below me. And now there's actually a big condo building there where that beauty salon used to be. I don't live there anymore. But these women would drive up to the beauty salon. And, these were all, I don't know, doctors' wives, attorneys' wives, Microsoft employees, Russian wives, and they drive up in their Mercedes and their BMWs and their Bentleys and Ferraris, and they'd walk in, they'd go get their nails and their hair and their this, and I'd look at that, and I'd watch my rage, my reason. I go,
mm,
what the fuck? These women ever worked a day in their life? Have they ever had to do anything besides, just get liposuction and go spend money at Nordstrom and get their nails done and get their hair done and gossip and this and that, and they get to drive a beautiful car and they're taken care of and blah, blah. I just watched that and I'd go, how interesting. I'm making up a whole story about
yeah,
people
you
that
don't
I
know
don't
anything.
even know. I don't know anything
Right.
about them. I would just, and then I'd get curious. That's what I try to do about anything in life. If I can notice it, kind of be the observer, the witness, stand behind myself and just notice the story, get curious. Okay, what's that story about? What's that story telling me about me? And how is that maybe even a protection that I'm projecting that out onto them to like guard myself? Or how do they even mirror back something about me that I'm uncomfortable about? Do I actually want all that kind of attention that they get just because they have boobs and a vagina? Am I resentful? Because I would actually like a lot of attention like that as well. I get curious. And what happens just to being able to witness something, notice it, not judge it, just be curious about it. Often it just either begins to dissolve, lose its power, or you kind of get to see where the source of it is down in the
Yeah,
shadow,
you become
down in the
conscious
darkness.
of
You
your
become conscious.
angry
And
mind.
and you know what? We're all human. We all
Yeah.
have this stuff. And if we can just use these triggers to be the noticer and the observer. So yeah, if a guy's walking around feeling bitter and resentful and rageful at women in general, good
How
luck
can he
getting
heal?
laid.
How
Good
can
luck
he
getting
heal?
laid. Yeah. And if you do try to approach women or you do try to engage with them and you've got that energy behind it,
She's
oh
gonna see it
man,
in a
they
millisecond.
feel it. They
Mhm.
feel it. It's in their body. They go,
Yeah.
I don't want to be close to that. And there's some women that have been so abused and so violated, it actually feels normal to them. So there
Yeah.
are some women that will respond to it, but
Mhm.
then you're getting a woman responding to something because it's just repeating something familiar to her nervous system.
Right. So how, I mean, you've touched on it now. Would you say healing nice guy syndrome is through empathy? I mean, you mentioned feeling into the situation through introspection and kind of just like sitting there and not making a judgment, kind of like waiting that extra few seconds and
Yeah,
reflecting on your thoughts.
a way to put that is just being the non-judgmental observer of self.
Hmm.
I tell people I'm a judgmental motherfucker. I can walk down the street, but if I'm in an airport, like
Tell me too.
stressed, I got to go stand in the security line and the TSA line, and I'm going, what the fuck, that person thought it was a good idea to wear their pajamas to the airport today.
Yeah, I'm
What
the
the
same.
fuck? Has this person never flown before? Have they ever been through TSA? Do they know that they've got to take the computer out ahead of time and it should be buried underneath
Whenever
all
it's
their
about
clothes?
efficiency, I'm like,
Oh,
there's a
I'm
faster way.
I'm a what
Yeah.
the fuck about all of that. And
Yeah.
you know what? So I just know now when I go to the airport, I leave at least a half hour earlier than I
Hmm.
know I need to leave. I have a membership in the airline VIP room. I know I can go and be in a nice room with some good food and coffee and a nice bathroom. I know standing in line with all the herd of cattle to get through the security is practice for me now, where I
Hmm.
just laugh at all the stuff I say to myself in my head, all
Yeah.
the judgments and criticism I have at all the people around me, and know that it's just my story. It's
You're
just my
basically
judgment, my
meditating in
truth.
the TSA line now. You're just like, oh,
Yeah.
here's an opportunity to meditate
Yeah.
and
And I watch the judgments come up and
yeah,
just smile. And my wife will go, what are you smiling about? Oh, just my judgments. I'm just having a
I
good
get that
time
too.
watching my judgment. And yeah. And so you got to be able to be the witness of it, not judge yourself for being judgmental or whatever you're being. Be the witness. Ask what the story is it's telling you. The story is I'm just afraid I'm not going to get where I'm going and something, that will have a negative consequence. So I don't want, yeah, we can say it's about efficiency. Really,
Hmm.
it's all about us. We want the Red Sea to just part, everybody get out of our way so we can walk through and not waste our time. It's really all about us.
Mm.
But we can even notice that and smile at that, yeah, it's just me being kind of self-centered, narcissistic and egotistical. I just want everybody to get out of my way so I can walk right through because I'm that special, right?
Hmm.
So I
And
can laugh
everybody's
at
thinking
that.
it.
I can, yeah, and everybody's thinking it. Now, the rest of them are too dumb to think it.
Right. Only us are smart. We're
Oh,
the smart
yes.
ones.
We're the smartest ones, yeah.
Yes. You and me.
So you got to have a sense of humor about it.
Okay. Something positive to finish off.
Yeah, now we got rid of all of our rage and all of our resentment, all of
Yeah.
our projections.
What are you excited about for young men?
I am excited that, and I'm an optimist about this. We're in the midst of really big change. We've been talking about a lot of this. I think it's easy to think, and we were over here at one side, with kind of the whole patriarchy type thing. We threw the whole baby out with the bathwater. We get over here with all the woke stuff and toxic masculinity, and men are evil and the cause of all evil. It'd
Hmm.
be easy to think, well, maybe we're going to drift back to, some middle place. But
Pendulum is coming back. Yeah.
But I actually don't think that's what's going to happen or what should
Uh-huh.
happen. Because I tell people, I don't know where the tipping point is between two toxic extremes. This needed to change. This isn't sustainable either. So, what's the middle ground between two toxic extremes? I don't know. I don't think it exists, right? What I do think is that we need to elevate up, move
Mhm.
up. Because you and I, we're talking about dating, talking to women, getting laid, seeing them naked, and we're doing it all. And we're talking about consciousness and awareness
Mm.
and internal judgments and evolving and letting go and opening. That's what I see happening. When I started my quote, nice guy recovery 30 years ago, I found a 12-step group. I luckily found a good therapist, got into a good men's group. But there wasn't much out there. And I found, I did some of the Robert Bly, Iron John stuff, mythopoetic, go out in the woods, tell stories, say ho, beat a drum, have a talking stick. But that's about all that existed.
Mhm.
Nowadays, there's 100,000 people like you,
Yeah.
like me, that are working with men and women around personal development, personal growth, evolution, consciousness, open-heartedness, leveling up, being aware. That shit did not exist 30 years ago. It's everywhere now. People speak the language like we all know it and understand it. Now, there's a lot of bullshit and crap out there as well. But there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good coaches, a lot of good podcasters, a lot of good programs, a lot of good events for men and women both, but especially for men, that men can get that masculine initiation that we've gone with this maybe 60 to 80-year gap without
Mhm.
it. I think we're coming back to the place now where the message is out now. We men need initiation, and men
Beautiful.
actually go looking for it. Now, maybe they don't know how they're looking for it. Maybe they go looking for it through online poker or through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or a pickup boot camp or a Bible study at their church or a 12-step group or a yogic experience. They don't maybe know that's what they're looking for, but all of a sudden get into the dojo or get into the boot camp and they start connecting with guys and they start feeling how good that feels to be with men and be challenged by men. And some guy says, hey, have you watched this podcast? Or have you read, David Data? Have you seen No More Mr. Nice Guy? Have you done? And now all of a sudden there's this great just cross, you know,
Mhm. Rays
I
of
don't know what the
consciousness around it.
it's just happening everywhere. And the internet and social media is filled with bullshit, but it's also got a lot of good stuff
You have to
and it's
design your algorithms.
available.
That's what I'm telling
You
people.
you, you do
Algorithm isn't
design it.
bad. You have to design it consciously. You have to tell
I
it,
I
I don't want
agree.
to see this. I want to see this. I don't want to see this. You can.
Yeah. And now I get a lot of Chris Williamson and Stephen Bartlett and Tim
Mhm.
Ferriss and people that I like that I think are putting
Yeah.
good messages out there. And we can do it now. That didn't exist 30 years ago. So I'm optimistic about that. And all these discussion like you and I are having, this kind of discussion is happening over and over and over and over again with a lot of people that aren't you and I. And
Hmm.
to me, that's a good thing that the
Perfect.
conversation's being had.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Robert. Thank you for doing the work and writing your book. It's top 5 books I'm recommending my students.
Oh man, it should be top three. Come on. What's the other
We'll
four?
work on it. David Data you mentioned. I mean,
Way of the
the Way of the
Superior Man.
Superior
Yeah.
Man. It's a great one. My
What else? What
Secret
do you
Garden. Do you know My Secret Garden?
Nancy
Nancy
Friday?
Friday.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was like, wow.
Never heard of it.
Never.
Yeah. Yeah. Men should
Um,
read it. If it'll blow men's mind
so
about what
yours
women
number
are really
three,
like.
right there. Number three, top three.
I'm number three, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I can go with that. I can go behind
Nice.
David Data, Nancy
Yeah.
Friday. I'm in good company.
And in my personal top three for sure as well. No, honestly, like it really helped me a lot. I read it many years ago. Um, a lot of epiphanies during reading, some painful awakenings
Good.
you have during the reading. So yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for taking the
Thank
time.
you. Thank you for the invitation. This has been fun.